I'm recording.
Recording.
I'm recording. Are you recording?
I'm recording.
I knew it. I knew that because you said it.
Feels like the first time. Every time.
Feels like the first time. Feels like the very first time. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And together, we are speaking the language of bromance.
This is the Richard
Oh,
cut.
buddy.
Oof. Oof.
Oof.
We got here.
No, oof. We did.
This, I know it's probably a joke that a lot of people that talk about the show say is like, well, this, whenever we review anything, it always goes double. So this will have to be an 8-hour podcast.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
Oh, it's not?
No. I guess if we did, it'd be like 8 parts. Like we'd be talking about this for like 6 months in a row.
Do you think there's what's the world record for the longest podcast?
I don't know. I bet
longest
24
continuous
hours.
Podcast.
24, 48 hours. I think the question is like how many people actually listen to that full episode, because actually we should look that up, because if it's an attainable number, we should try to do it.
You're right. We should.
Yeah, because it's like, well, that's not really podcasting. It's like, fuck you, it is.
Yeah. You try it.
You try to look at the same person over the internet and talk for 72 hours.
Yeah, you jerk.
We became friends. We questioned our sexuality.
Oh my God, 72 hours. Can you imagine?
That'd be a long time. Well, I mean, no, you know what? It actually wouldn't be too bad, because, we drove for like 20-some hours straight.
That's true.
So all we have to do is kick record on that. Have to go to the bathroom in the same spot together. We can't break the stream, Richard. We can't break the stream.
I'm about to break the stream.
I gotta poop.
No, Shawn. We are not doing a 8-hour podcast to cover a 4-hour movie. Shawn,
4 hours. Epic. This thing was long. But Richard, today we are going to talk about just released for your $8.99 a month. There's $9. Well, how much? No, it's $13.99, $14.99 a month.
Yeah, I think they just ticked up the price $1, so I think it's $13.99.
Yeah, so for the price of a ticket of admission to a movie theater, HBO Max gave you the 4-hour Snyder Cut. People have been asking for this for years, right? And
yeah.
I kind of want to, so I've only seen the viewing once. I'm pretty sure I only saw Justice League, the original, once in theaters, because I wasn't a big fan. Just throwing it out there.
Nor was I. I was not a big fan either.
Yeah, I liked Batman v Superman. I know a lot of people didn't care for that. Like the Martha scene, a lot of people were like, well, this was stupid. In the moment, it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, they have the same mom with the moms have the same name. It's the sons.
Oh, you were that guy in Titanic that was like, oh, no, now what?
Yeah. Oh, he's in the water. He's giving up his spot.
Iceberg.
So, I liked it, but Justice League, coming out of it, definitely, I remember vividly kind of being bored, being lost. And, you go back to that, I've seen the trailer for Justice League on some DVD we have where it's, showing that. I'm like, the trailer makes Justice League, the original, look good. I got hyped for it a little bit and then remembered what happened and quickly didn't want to watch it.
Yeah. Did we see this together?
No. I saw it with
I don't
Tiff's
remember.
dad. I think we talked about reviewing it, but after we both watched it, it's do you want to talk about it? No. Do you? No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that doesn't make me sad. But,
yeah.
I remember, Man of Steel, I like that movie. A lot of people had a lot of shit to say about that. Batman v Superman, I enjoyed.
I did like Man of Steel. I was kind of iffy on Batman v Superman. I think the only thing, what I was iffy on when it came to Batman v Superman is the last fight felt very I don't want to say unrealistic, because I mean it's a fucking comic book with aliens fighting aliens on Earth. But like it just seemed very like kind of over the top-ish.
Agreed. It kind of felt like the studio said, "Hey, we need this big crazy fight."
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the third act of Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
where
I agree.
you're just like, this seems unnecessary.
I agree. But yeah, coming out of that, like, and so all that happens, and they were already shooting Justice League, I think, before Batman v Superman was out. So they were like,
yeah.
And there's lots of stuff that happened. Zack Snyder steps away. I'm probably not saying anything that nobody knows, but the part I vividly remember is like they said Joss Whedon, the guy who did the Avengers, is going to take over and kind of finish it up. We're like, oh, okay. Then you hear we're doing a bunch of reshoots and everybody's coming back, and you're like, huh? Like, no. Don't worry. This happens all the time. This will be a minor change to the story. Richard, I don't think it was very minor. It was not 4 hours minor.
It was not very minor. And okay, so getting just touching the tip of Justice League of the Snyder cut, I will say that Justice League actually, in a way, for me, as since I was kind of like meh on Batman v Superman, Justice League for me actually made Batman v Superman a slightly better movie.
Yeah, I could see it. Because, I mean, Batman v Superman was definitely kind of like the stepping stone to Justice League.
Well, okay, so Justice League, in the first, like, 30 seconds, they touch back on Batman v Superman, and then you're like, oh.
That's what those boxes are. Because you don't even really know what they are in the Joss Whedon version.
Oh, my God. I feel like, I feel like this should just be called like you don't even call it Justice League the Snyder Cut. Just call it Context.
Yeah. I heard somebody kind of say that so Joss Whedon's Justice League was like taking an extreme shortcut to get from point A to point B, and the Zack Snyder's taking like the beautiful, calming, see everything scenic route from point A to point B.
Yeah. And okay, you know what? I think I feel like I should save my opinion about I hate shitting on fucking Whedon's Justice League just because like it's kind of like, hey, a 4-hour story is probably a bit more complete than a $150 story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, obviously.
When I think we talked, or I think my understanding of how the Zack Snyder cuts was supposed to be is that they were filming part 1 and part 2 of Justice League back to back. Like they're basically filming all that as one. So everything we saw in this 4-hour epic, I think was actually supposed to be part 1 and part 2. And then he had the part 3 he was going to go into after that. So when Batman v Superman kind of tanked, it's like, well, Joss, just kind of condense it all into just one movie. We've already wasted a ton of money. Basically, movie 3 is going into reshoots, and we'll see what happens after that.
Well, see, and okay. This is kind of my take on it. Like Justice League or Batman v Superman didn't do that great. So, okay.
It did good financially, just didn't do good critically, right?
Yeah. And so I feel like so the studio was like, okay, well, we're just going to make this Justice League a one and done. Like, cuz that's the impression you got, is that it felt very kind of one and done, And then it was, okay, well, we're going to do Justice League and then we'll get into the origin stories and stuff later. And the thing that I'm hesitating on is I hate comparing it to Marvel. I really don't want to do that.
Yeah, but you kind of have to, because
it's too complete. Well, I think that the thing that Warner Brothers has overlooked is that when they did the Justice League, they had roughly 2 movies It was 2 movies.
Yeah, I pulled up
ahead of Justice League.
I think this is going to make you sad. So let's go through like the DCEU. So they had Man of Steel in 2013, which I don't really think was actually the official kickoff for the DCEU, but it ended up being kind of the unofficial kickoff.
Yeah.
So you had Man of Steel, which I think people liked. And then you had Batman v Superman, which a lot of people went to, were excited for, not happy with it. And so you think, okay, well, like, we can rebound from this. What's our next movie? And it was Suicide Squad.
Oh shit! Yeah. You're right. I think that Suicide Squad was the one that kind of fucking shot him. That kind of because cooled their jets and had them scared.
Yeah, because you wait 3 years after Man of Steel to get Dawn of Justice, and people are like, oh, really? And it's like, but we've got Suicide Squad in 5 months, so it wasn't even like a year later. So in 5 months, you get
Suicide Squad kind of looked cool.
It did,
you know. You were like, hey, this kind of looks cool. Like, I don't know about that Joker, but like, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
But honestly, that's another one that went through like a crazy cut situation. Because there's a ton of Joker stuff that's left on the floor. And I'm definitely probably somebody that's in the minority on this. I actually like Jared Leto's Joker. Like in the parts of the Suicide Squad.
You were in the minority.
I am, but I think he plays a good Joker.
I don't want to yuck your yum.
I didn't like all the tattoos. And I think Suicide Squad left a lot of context out. Like, I think of Suicide Squad, which originally was intended to be Suicide Squad versus the Joker, I think it would have been a better movie, and I think that was the intent. But because of Dawn of Justice, they're like, well, we can't fuck this one up, so we got to make sure Suicide Squad's good. Kind of ruined it. So, you have Suicide Squad, which, again, everybody hates. But then you have Wonder Woman about a year later. And everybody's like, okay, I'm on board. But they've already completely scrapped what the original Justice League was supposed to be. And they're going through all these ridiculous reshoots with Joss Whedon. And now you get, about 6 months after Wonder Woman, where everybody's back on the DC train, you get the Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And everybody's
and I think it was after Justice League that they were like, okay, new plan. Everybody's getting movies. They're not connected, and that's it.
Yeah, but they already had Aquaman and Shazam pretty much in the can. So you had those come out that are tied to it, but not tied to it.
Yeah.
And then after Shazam, you get Birds of Prey.
Which Aquaman would have been a perfect fucking follow-up.
Yeah, Aquaman would have been good.
To this movie.
I agree.
You follow up Aquaman with this movie, or you follow up this movie with Aquaman, I think it makes Aquaman better.
Oh yeah. You mean the Snyder cut?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How did like that's the thing is I felt like the Snyder cut made Batman v Superman at least slightly better, if not just make a little more sense. So that's number one. Number two, makes Aquaman a better movie because it just improves the character arc of Aquaman in general.
Agreed.
Does it make Wonder Woman? I don't know if it does much with Wonder Woman, just in terms of like her overall character arc.
Yeah, I mean, her movie that came out before Justice League came out, I think did everything that you needed for Wonder Woman. Like, I think that was like, I don't think anybody says that Wonder Woman has, except the third act, like you kind of said, but Wonder Woman on its own is a great movie.
And you know what? Like, honestly, like as kind of like bumpy as the third act was in Wonder Woman, like you still kind of overlooked it because the rest of the movie was solid enough that you were like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, you watch
I'll
that,
take it.
And you're like, yeah, that's the studio. That's the studio's part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what makes me, like looking back on this, what frustrates me, I think, is that, and I'm curious what you think about this. So let's go back in time, Richard, and we say, no, keep Snyder's idea. We're going to make Justice League Part 1, Part 2. So we'll cut it, and this one would be like about the middle, like the 2-hour markish, where like everybody comes together before they kind of start going to the big battle. Like Steppenwolf, I think, has 2 of the boxes at this point, or maybe at least one of them, maybe 2. And we find out where the third one is. You cut it there. You have Part 2 in 2018. maybe you sprinkle in Aquaman in there. Maybe, I don't know.
I would say that you cut, like if you want to split this movie in twain, you have the movie ending with the return of Superman.
Yes,
that's where
that'd be a good one. Yeah,
that's where you chop it. Like Superman comes back and credits.
No, so do you have him? So you're going to open Justice League Part 2 with him fighting? Because I think if you have them fighting Superman,
no, that's how you open Part 2.
With
is
the
you
fight.
Have them fighting. Yes, that's the way I would do it. I would open Justice League Part 2 with them fighting Superman.
So Superman shows up, he gets alive. Would you? Now I'm playing director. I feel like you would.
Okay,
but
wait, I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves because okay, so like I said, I really didn't want to compare to Marvel.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But when the Avengers came out in 2011, 12, somewhere around there, when Avengers was released, you had Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man 2. You had 5 movies leading up to this first Avengers film.
Yeah, so Phase 1 finished before Man of Steel came out. And just so you remember, when MCU Phase 1 started, like Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, we had just got The Dark Knight, and then I think Iron Man 2, we had The Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
So they were still on those.
I guess I'm not really comparing them like in terms of like where they were at certain points of time. I guess what I'm saying is by the time you get to Avengers, you've spent an hour, almost 2 hours with 3 of your 5 characters in that movie, just on them alone. So you know exactly where they're at, like in terms of a character arc, and it shows in the performances when they're together. Okay. So now the studio says, well, we can't do a 4-hour cut of Justice League. Yes, you kind of need to do a 4-hour cut of Justice League because you haven't spent the 10 hours creating the goodwill of introducing your characters.
Yeah.
You haven't spent the 10 hours to do the legwork to get to a point where you know where everybody is, like in their heads, you know where everybody is and how they're feeling and what their arc is going to be. Okay? So you need to do this big bombastic fucking 4-hour epoch or epic because that's the only way you're going to be able to, like, almost you're kind of playing catch up.
Yeah. And so at this point, like for Marvel's Phase 1, it was 4 years. You could have done all that in 2. You could have done a part 1, part 2. So when Justice League came out in 17, you could have had part 1 in 17, part 2 in 18, and then kicked into the whole, here's our big bad, here's our Thanos-esque character.
God. And you could have, and so you would have had Justice League 1, Justice League 2, and then now you go into your, Wonder Woman sequel, your Aquaman, you throw in a Batman movie in there, and then guess what? You're leading up to another Justice League movie with Darkseid finally fucking showing up.
Yeah. Well, and I know some of the stuff that they talked about. So Zack Snyder's vision was you'd have a part 1, part 2, and it sounded like a lot of part 2 would take place in that future dystopia. And I'm not sure if Flashpoint would have kind of been what played off of this, or if they would have done it inside that movie, but something would have in Justice League Part 3 would have been them going back in time to save Lois, because they were kind of playing with like the Justice League Unlimited or DC. What's the comic books where Superman?
Injustice.
It sounded like he was wanting to play with that idea a ton, where something happened where Superman or something killed Lois, and Superman kind of flips and becomes the overhand god.
With the Injustice storyline, it's Joker. So what happens with the Injustice storyline is Joker somehow manages to
kryptonite fear gas.
He uses I think he modifies Scarecrow's fear gas to make Superman think that he's fighting Doomsday, but it's actually he's basically killing Lois.
And then
Joker also, it's a remote trigger that detonates a nuclear warhead in Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does Superman kill Lois, but also a nuclear bomb explodes in Metropolis. And so that causes Superman to go over the edge, and he kills Joker.
Yeah, that all happens in issue 1. He flies back to where Joker is in prison and punches his hand through his heart. Through Joker's heart.
Yeah.
But it kind of sounded like that's what they're wanting to play with here. I don't know if they were going to kind of say that it was the Joker's fault. Although the end epilogue kind of plays like maybe he had something to do with it.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it's whatever happened is kind of his doing. But also in a way kind of Batman's doing, because that was kind of the whole thing with the Injustice storyline too. Like that's why Clark is pissed at Batman, because he's like, there's a million times that you could have killed this motherfucker and you didn't, and now Lois is dead and it's kind of your fault.
Oh yeah, and I forgot in that too, she was pregnant, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Which they hint in this movie that she's pregnant.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a not so subtle hint.
I've heard people talk too that the thought is that I don't think Snyder's confirmed or denied it, but they were playing on the idea that Lois was actually carrying Bruce Wayne's child. So in their mourning of losing Clark Kent and Superman, they kind of found each other, and kind of let emotions get a hold of them. Like that's pretty awkward.
Oh, no.
Like he comes out and like, oh my God, a son of Krypton. He's like, wait, why does he have all that money in his hand?
Yeah. Why is he wearing bat ears?
Why does he talk like this? He's not even hit puberty yet.
But yeah, Warner Brothers didn't spend the time to create the goodwill of making a bunch of movies beforehand, so that way you were super familiar with characters and performances by the time you get to Justice League. So yeah, you kind of have to do a 4-hour, run-on of a movie because you have to catch up.
And it's so frustrating because they had the time. You know what I mean? Like Batman v Superman came out in 2016. Justice League came out, I guess it was just a year later. But still, you do a part 1, part 2, and your phase 1 is done. You've introduced all the main characters.
Yeah.
And
you've done it in half the time.
Yeah, exactly. And like one of the things I was really kind of like, I think Ben Affleck did a good job as Batman in all the ones I've seen. Like I think he's done a fine job as an old Batman.
I agree.
But the problem is you have an old Batman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man for 10 years because he was, in his late 40s when he started, and he's in an iron suit.
Right.
Chris Evans was mid 30s probably when he started. So, but now you got a guy who's like in his mid 40s, and you're expecting him to be Batman for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And the only thing you could really do, which would have been kind of cool, and maybe they're leading to that, because it all goes back to time travel, right? Your first DC phase 1 is this big explosion, dark side, all this crazy stuff, but it leads into a flashpoint where you pick your young Batman, your young Superman. Gal Gadot, I think's young enough to continue being Wonder Woman for a long period of time. Jason Momoa is freaking Jason Momoa, so he could be whatever he wants till the end of time.
That motherfucker.
I know, right? Oh, he's
God damn it.
Oh, he's so good in this too. Like
such a fucking specimen.
And like he doesn't have like the unhealthy oh shit, what's the guy that plays Superman?
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill has like that unhealthy super heavyweight look to him, Like he's the kind of guy that's like gonna have like super bad joint issues in like 20 years. I mean, he's still cut from like God's own granite. But Jason Momoa just has that like natural surfer man build where like he's just gonna be like super strong, have like a gray beard, and just look like magnificent when he's 80 and still surfing.
Okay, so again, I need to talk about like I kind of need to break down this movie bit by bit in a way, okay? Because, you know, like we were saying earlier, in the first 90 seconds, we not only contextualize like the whole point of this movie, but we also kind of not necessarily retcon Batman v Superman, but at least make Batman v Superman a little more worthwhile.
Yeah, it makes it important.
It makes it important because in the opening credits of this movie is Superman dies, okay? And Superman's like, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Okay? And he lets out this big scream, and the scream is what awakens the fucking mother boxes.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Because the mother boxes go, hey, the Kryptonian is fucking dead, so now we can wake up and, you know, work on taking over, you know, we can call down, you know, people to take over this fucking planet finally.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even play it as like these things understand that because, you know, there was no Kryptonian here when the mother boxes first got here, right?
Right.
So, like, you know, it's like, well, why didn't they kick off sooner? Because there was no Kryptonian or no Green Lantern here. But it's seeing the death, like something killed something of such great power like Superman. It's kind of like, well, maybe there's a chance here. Like, maybe we should start dialing out and seeing what's going on. Or just the power of his screams, you know, reset whatever was wrong with them. Like, it may not have been the mother boxes thinking like, oh, hey, you know, now we can take over. It's just more of like a, oh, hey, we just got rebooted by the most powerful thing that's come across us in years.
Exactly. And it's not just, okay, we're going to wake up because movie.
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't even know if they say mother box in that until the very end where you're like, oh, these are mother boxes. Okay. Like, why are they important? Because there's not even 3 in the original, right? There's just the one.
No, there's 3.
Is there 3?
There's 3. There's 3 in the original. But yeah, you're sitting there going like, in the very beginning, you're like, well, why are these things waking up now? Like, why now and why not, you know, last year? Why not, you know, 10 years ago?
Yeah, it is very much like, well, that's convenient that they find him right after Superman dies.
Yeah. And then you watch this and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that's what I felt like I spent this entire movie doing. I felt like I sat back for 4 hours and went, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah, the whole
okay. Yeah.
The whole time I'm like, why didn't they just use this? This is better. Like I like this better. Like even like you think about we got a little bit of the opening battle on Themyscira with the original.
Did you watch this all in? I actually sat and watched this soup to nuts in one sitting.
I watched it in 3 sittings, not because I couldn't watch the whole thing, but because I didn't have 4 hours in like a good week to devote to it. So I had like 2 hours here, an hour here, and an hour here. So I went ahead and just did that. It splitting up in parts was excellent.
Oh my God, with the title cards.
Yeah.
Fucking so smart. It's so goddamn smart because it's going, hey, we understand. Like, this movie's 4 hours. We get it. You know, you maybe aren't going to sit here and watch this thing from fucking start to finish for 4 hours because you have a life. I mean, not you, Richard, but the rest of you have a life. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put these title cards up that's going to say part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And when you get to that, you can hit pause.
Yeah.
And then you can go and you can live your life like a normal human being. And then when you're ready, you come back and you hit play, and then you're right back where you left off.
Yeah, you're at the start of a brand new chapter. And it's at a big scene
transition. Yeah, it's right at a big scene transition, so you're not like having to remember a whole lot.
Agreed.
Smart.
I know they talked about releasing this in like 1 hour episodes, like once a week. I'm glad they did release it all as one.
I am too. I really am too, because I mean, it was meant to be seen theatrically. I mean, this is not The Mandalorian or WandaVision,
no,
where it's thematically broken up. Where it's thematically broken up to where it's, there's these little story arcs that go start to finish, and then it's done, and then you're kind of satiated for 6 days, and then you can watch the next one. With this, I mean, honestly, like we were talking about earlier, we can really only identify like one place that you would kind of like split the story in twain and then say, okay, this is part 1 and this is part 2.
Yeah.
Like if you tried to break this into thirds, I don't know how you would do it. I don't know where the break points would be, where you would feel like satisfied at the end of, like you watch part 1, like at what point would you stop and feel like, okay, this is good for now, and then I'll watch the rest next week.
Yeah, I don't see any. And I think even like the ending would feel kind of like you'd almost want to go back to rewatch because it would feel kind of missing something.
Exactly. I feel like you would get to the end of it and go, okay, I needed to just watch this whole thing front to back.
Yeah. Or, if they did like 4 splits and like it would feel a little comic booky where, and if they like the big killing and ending happens in the first like 10 minutes and the rest is epilogue. Like that would feel kind of like last issue of comic books.
Yeah.
Because they are kind of like that. You go through like 30 issues, you get to the last issue, and it's like within the first 5 pages, like, oh, we killed the bad guy. Now the
epilogue. Okay. So you were talking about the battle on Themyscira.
Yeah.
Themyscira. Oh, fan-fucking-tastic.
So much better than the original. I'm going to say it right now.
1,000% better. 1,000% better. Not only is it better, but if you ever go back and watch the theatrical version, you watch it and you're like, man, these Amazons are getting their ass handed to them by this fucking big looking, space rhino.
Well, it's Steppenwolf in the original, right?
It is Steppenwolf. He does look differently. If you watch the theatrical version and then watch this version, they look different.
Yeah, I don't remember what he looks like.
And
in the
I
original.
do want to get into Steppenwolf's. Character, in a little bit. But yes, I 100% agree with you. This battle's so much better. It actually gives, by the end of the Snyder Cut version of this, you're like, Steppenwolf would have stuck around for another 5 minutes. Like, I don't think he would have made it off that fucking island.
In the original?
No, in this one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%.
You're like, if he didn't hop in that boom tube, like, I don't think he would have made it off that island alive.
Yeah, that was kind of a quick run in. You get a hold of what you need to, and you're like, well, I don't care about the XP. I'm just leaving.
Yeah. In the theatrical, it's very like, I'm from space and fuck you, Amazon women, punch, kill, ha ha ha, I'm so much better than you. I'm gonna pick up this box and deuces.
Yeah.
But in the Snyder Cut version, it's very like, God damn, these fucking women are kind of being a pain in my ass. Yeah. So much better.
Well, and I was thinking of the battle on Themyscira with Darkseid too. That's the one I was referencing.
Oh, was that on Themyscira? I thought that was just kind of like someplace out in.
Oh, maybe it was. For some reason, I thought it was Themyscira. But like in the theatrical, if I remember correctly, like you get a glimpse of like a green light. So like, oh my gosh, there's a Green Lantern. But in this, you see the death of a Green Lantern.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, Darkseid's going to become a lantern. Oh, the ring flew off.
It's like, oh, nope, not worthy. Bye. Woo.
Yeah.
You get to see the old gods. Like, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Again, you get to see the women kicking ass, the Amazonians. What else was in there that was pretty sweet? There's a couple other ones, like the Atlanteans. They were fighting in there was pretty sweet, and then the men were.
There was the Atlanteans,
the land of man,
the land of men, the Amazons, the old gods. There was a lantern, and you were like, "This is fucking great."
Yeah, this is like
there's Darkseid. Okay, so in the theatrical version, they replaced Darkseid with Steppenwolf.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
They don't allude to Darkseid at all.
I think the only thing is in the dream sequence, right? You see the Omega sign, or I think that's the only time you see it.
Yeah, but that dream sequence thing wasn't even. It was in Batman v Superman. That wasn't in Justice League.
Oh, why did I think that was in Justice League? Wasn't there a dream sequence in Justice League?
That I don't. I'm not 100%.
Or is the whole Barry thing, is that in Batman v Superman? Where you see Barry coming from the future. For some reason, I thought that was in Justice League. I could be wrong, though.
I don't know. I'm confused.
But either way, like, in that battle when they're fighting all the stuff in the past, like you said, Steppenwolf. Yes. Like, it's a guy who kind of gets through okay and gets beat up. But when you see Darkseid in that battle, like, it seems like it put everybody to the limit and put him to the limit. And
well, not just that, and he actually gets hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it seems like it was kind of a miscue on his part kind of thing.
Yes.
Like one of those that he would have kept fighting if he could.
Yeah. Talking about Steppenwolf, okay, so in the theatrical version, he's very much like the villain. He's the big bad. It might allude to Darkseid a little bit, but other than that, I mean, if it does at all, it's minimal, okay? So you don't get any reference, hardly any, if any, reference to Darkseid in the theatrical version, okay? So now let's cut to the Snyder Cut. One of the things that makes, and again, I hate comparing it to Marvel, one of the things that makes Thanos a good villain is he's humanized. You humanize your big bad, and it causes you to empathize a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanos isn't just some fucking, big evil thing that wants to kill half the universe because ha ha ha, maniacal laugh.
Yeah. Bad guy bad, so must destroy.
Exactly. Thanos does what he does because he feels what he's doing is correct.
Yep. Everybody's the hero in their own book.
Exactly. And so now let's cut to Steppenwolf, okay? In the theatrical version, Steppenwolf, big bad evil man, he's gonna come and he's gonna take over the earth because he's such a bad evil dude. Snyder cut Steppenwolf. He rebelled against Darkseid.
Yeah, he fucked
Apparently,
up. He did something bad.
He fucked up. He did something bad. And so now he's on this like redemption. And so he's not even allowed to talk to Darkseid at this point. He has to talk to Desaad.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, what that does is it gives you Steppenwolf's motivation. It tells you why Steppenwolf is doing what he is doing. It makes you understand your villain and therefore makes him a much better villain.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think Joss Whedon kind of treated it more as just like the crowd is dumb. They just need to know what the bad guy is. Fight bad guy.
Exactly. And it almost made me angry because you're sitting there going like, dude, like you've read comic books. You've written comic books. Like you know how to tell a story. Isn't creating a complex villain like storytelling 101?
Should be. I mean, you look at all the stuff he did, like Buffy's and stuff. He gave Firefly might be a little bit different, but Buffy, the arcs of the bad people, the big bads throughout the season had some sort of reason.
He wrote Serenity. The whole point of the villain in Serenity was because he was a true believer, and it made him a complex, motivated villain.
Yeah.
He's the operative the bad guy in Serenity isn't necessarily a bad guy. He's just misguided.
Yeah. But that's where I kind of
understanding that by understanding his motivation, then you understand it makes him a more complex character. But you're right. The assumption here is audience is stupid, so we're just gonna, we're gonna take a bad guy and we're gonna make him look alien and be like, see that's the bad guy.
Yeah, and that's what I wonder if, and we talked about this, when it came out. I guess like you could ask, like in the Avengers stuff, how much was Feige, how much was Whedon? And then this one, if this was just kind of a very good cash grab. Because I'm sure they dumped a shit ton of money at his feet. Because when Joss
Whedon, yeah.
I just feel like it was one of those, like, he didn't really want to do it. But It's like, it's like saying like, well, I really need you to do this. He's like, I'll do it for $40 million. They're like, all right, here's $40 million. Like, oh shit, I didn't think they would do that. Well, fuck, now I guess I gotta do this.
Ah, shit. I was kidding.
I need 60 million. Okay, here's 6. God damn it.
Like you were talking about, Whedon did the Avengers. Whedon had Loki as a villain, who is a character that is motivated by, this. He basically he wants to prove himself as someone that's worthy of being feared. It's almost he wants to conquer the earth as a way to prove to his adopted father that, he's not just a petulant child.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how much of that was actually in Avengers and how much of that was sprinkled throughout the previous movies. Are we giving Whedon a little too much credit for Avengers?
I was going to say, I think it's a little of both. But again, that goes back to my point of, Marvel did the legwork beforehand. So that way, when you get to Avengers, you understand Loki is a villain and he's already a complex character.
But
with Justice League, you have, you need the time to explain why Steppenwolf is doing what he is doing. And that's what the Snyder Cut does.
Yeah, but the frustrating thing is the Snyder Cut is what we should have got. We should have got part 1, part 2, and got all that. Right now in 2021, we should be building up to either their version of DCEU Phase 2, where they're flashpointing it and they're resetting everything, or we're getting ready to see Darkseid and all these people fight in this epic battle. But instead, we're looking at something that was created 4 years ago at this point. Well, it was filmed more than that, 5 or 6 years ago, but should have came out 4 years ago at this point.
Yep.
And gave us all that in a timely fashion. You keep talking Marvel gave us 4 years to queue all this up. Joss Whedon gave us, or not Joss Whedon, Zack Snyder gave us that in 4 hours, which should have been 2 separate movies.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was super worried about with this flick was I was hoping I'd watch this and be like, this movie wasn't very good. I'm ready for something new. But instead it's well, what could have been? We could be sitting here getting ready to see MCU Phase 4, getting excited for that, and in the same year getting excited for Justice League Part 3, Dark Side of the Moon. It's the only pun I could think of.
See you on the dark side of the moon.
But yeah, that super frustrating, watching it. And, it's one of those things, I wonder in the studio, because Dawn of Justice didn't do well. So well, you don't know what you're doing, Snyder. And so David Ayer, you don't know what you're doing. Tweak this in Suicide Squad. Oh, they hate this? Well, we're fucked. Wait, they like Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Joss Whedon, make Justice League good. Oh, he fucked that up. Aquaman, Shazam. Birds of Prey will get us there. No, it doesn't. Well, we got Wonder Woman 84. Oof. Well, yeah, fuck that up too. And, you said you don't want to compare to the MCU, but when you watch the MCU, there's some stinkers in there, right? You think of Phase 1.
I wasn't, super big on the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Iron Man 2 wasn't anything great. Thor was kind of meh.
I actually I kind of liked Iron Man 2. I liked Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2.
I mean, it wasn't bad.
And fuck. Who played Justin Hammer? I don't know who. I can't remember his name, but I love him in everything. Fuck, I can't. God damn it, that's gonna bother me because I love him in every movie he's in. I love his character. I love him as an actor. I can't think of his name. He played Justin Hammer in Iron Man. He was He was in Jojo Rabbit. He was in Seven Psychopaths. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Every time he's in a movie, I'm like, I was like, I don't care what this guy's
Sam
doing.
Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell, thank you. Oh, I love that. I love him in everything.
Oh, he's the red shirt guy in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a name.
Every single movie he's in, he's fucking fantastic. Every single one. I've never seen him I've never seen a bad Sam Rockwell performance. He is fantastic. He is chef's kiss perfect. But yeah, Iron Man 3, boo, oof, big oof on that one. Thor: The Dark World, I wasn't too big on that.
Yeah.
And they introduced Infinity Stone in that movie.
They did. That was the first one too, wasn't it?
That was, well, technically, I think it was the first time they refer to it as an Infinity Stone.
Oh yeah, because Dark World was after Avengers because they had the Loki Pokey stick.
But they didn't know that the Mind Gem was in it.
Yeah. So you had Iron Man 3, Dark World were kind of meh, but then you had Winter Soldier, then Guardians, then an Avenger, then Ant-Man was like, But even then, like with Ant-Man, you're like, it was okay. Like I don't want to watch it again. But within a year, you had Civil War and Doctor Strange and Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Like these are the movies you should be having right now. Like Shazam, like I love Shazam. Like I thought that was a great movie. But
that wasn't bad. I was okay with it.
But it's around so many stinkers and like doesn't like you don't understand how this fits in anything. You're just kind of like, okay. Is it by itself? Is it part of anything? Is the DCEU still a thing? I don't think it is, but maybe.
No. Well, and because now it's, now we're of this philosophy like, hey, let's just make movies and they can be unrelated. And you're kind of like, okay, like I guess, but you could have done something else.
And so like unfortunately, like if this was Marvel, right? Like let's say Phase 4 was kind of a stinker and they're starting to do this like, oh no, we're doing like independent, like, standalone movies.
Yeah.
Everybody would be sitting there thinking like, well, are you really? Or are you doing something? And I know a lot of people are like the Batman and Joker and, stuff like that. Like they're like trying to figure out like this Flashpoint's going to bring all that stuff together. And I don't know if it will, but it's like trying to have your cake and eat it too, I guess is the best way I can think of it.
I feel like it's like it's trying to, it's tugging at strings, trying to hope that there's a connecting thread.
Yeah, or just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Because the Joker did good. It was a good movie. But you're like,
I like the Joker.
How does this fit into anything? Like, this is a good standalone movie, but they want to do a part 2. I've heard rumors that they want that to be part of the Flashpoint movie. And it's like, I don't see how that can fit.
Yeah. I feel like if you're trying to fit it into like what we saw with the Justice League, if you're trying to fit it in there, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all.
Yeah.
It aggravates me because I feel like nobody is minding the store. And so what happens is you get these what I feel to be these knee-jerk reactions when you should just say, okay, like because here's the thing is who's seeing comic book movies now? It's fucking people that read comic books. That's who's, like at this point, I feel that the people that are watching Marvel movies are fall into two camps. They're either A, people that have read the comics for years and, they're ride or die at this point no matter what. Or B, there are fans that you have onboarded because you put out movies and there was a big hype about them, and you got people on, and now they're invested because they watched the movies. They never read a comic book in their life, but they watched all these fucking movies, and now they're with you, and they want to see what the fuck you got going on. Those are the two camps that you have. With DC, I feel like you have one of those two camps. You have the people that read the fucking comic books, the people that read the comic books and know the characters.
Yeah,
that's who's going to see DC movies.
I agree.
And so give those people what the fuck they want, or else they're gonna stop seeing your goddamn movies.
Well, to be fair, like that's what Marvel did. They were making those for the comic book readers, and they were good enough. They brought people in, and this just popped in my head. So the MCU Phase 1, when that was being done, it was not part of Disney yet. So Kevin Feige and them, I think, had a little bit more free reign because there wasn't a conglomerate over top of it. So by the time Disney's like, holy shit, people like this stuff, we're going to buy it for $600 billion or whatever fucking money it was. They're like, well, Kevin Feige, you know what you're doing, so we're going to bring you on. You keep running. We'll oversee a little bit, but obviously you know how to make money with this, so keep going. But with DC, it's owned by a conglomerate, Warner Brothers. And so they're going through and like, well, Zack Snyder, you obviously know what you're doing. Let's see what you're doing. Wait, no, people hate this shit. You don't know what you're doing. Let's bring in Joss Whedon. He knows he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, maybe we should go back to Zack Snyder.
Who knows what they're help us?
We're losing money.
And the thing is like in terms of, I personally feel that in terms of connecting threads in stories, I feel like DC had a better track record in the comics, because in the comics you had, Crisis on Infinite Earths and fuck. There was two. I think there was two Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then you had and especially with like the Justice League and stuff like that. I felt like those characters, those individual solo heroes, felt more connected, even Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Lantern, like all those are people that had separate books, but then you had the Justice League where they all came together. With the Avengers in the comics, you had Captain America and Iron Man, and they had separate books. But like there wasn't a Hawkeye comic book.
Yeah,
at least way back when. I guess what I'm saying is that like DC felt very much like a universe, like its own separate universe, where the characters like knew each other and talked and stuff like that. With Marvel, even though Marvel was set in more in our reality, Marvel didn't have Metropolis and Gotham City and Central City and shit like that. Marvel had New York and upstate New York and Connecticut and actual real places. But be that as it may, the characters in Marvel comics, they always kind of felt very like everybody's doing their own thing, and they only came together every so often.
Yeah. And they're the ones who were able to make the cinematic version of it like work.
Yeah.
It's just kind of saying like, DC, I think, is doing the comics well and the animated stuff well and the animated TV stuff well.
Yes.
And then you have Marvel
so good,
kind of doing okay in all the other three areas, but hitting the cinematic universe like perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like we only kind of like scraped the surface on the actual movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about that. I kind of like to think more of the meta of everything going on. I guess one thing to kind of talk about as we're coming to the end, there's two things I want to touch on. So what'd you think of the epilogue scene with Jared Leto and them?
I think that it seems like it's tying more to the Injustice storyline than maybe like a Flashpoint kind of thing. Although, I mean, we were supposed to get a Flash movie,
We're supposed to
and
still get one.
and I mean, maybe that's what causes it, or maybe he's the one that can fix, or maybe he sees it and can fix it. Who knows? Now, I will say, and this is kind of spoilers for some of the DC animated stuff. They just released Justice League Dark, which is called Apocalypse War, and in that animated film, Darkseid ends up taking over the Earth, and there's a big battle, and Constantine figures out that the whole reason that any of it happens is because of Flashpoint. And so at the end of Justice League Dark, Barry traveling back to the Flashpoint to hopefully change it and fix it and possibly create an entirely different timeline where who knows what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
Because other people, in this timeline, like, people have died, and some characters have died, and some, it's kind of crazy.
Well, shit, at the end of this one, like, Harley Quinn's dead. Aquaman's dead.
Yep.
Wonder Woman wasn't there, so she's still around. So I know a lot of people didn't like the Joker part of it, but I really liked it, and I want to see what happens when that car gets ripped in half.
I was happier with this Joker than Suicide Squad Joker.
Yeah, and I don't think we got to see all the good stuff for the Suicide Squad Joker. I think they cut.
I mean, that's fine.
Stuff.
I just mean I just mean like the overall look.
Oh yeah, because I mean, this looked like a guy who's been running through the desert that was already kind of like not all there.
Yeah,
probably at the end of his rope, like even more at the end of his rope, and still trying to one up the greatest detective of all time.
Yeah,
because like when he catches himself, like he's like you almost got me. Was kind of
I was happier. I was happy with it.
And I guess the last thing to talk about. So after this was done, there's a lot of people talking about restoring the Snyderverse.
I mean, is it too little, too late? I think it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be nice. At this point, like, yeah, that'd be great. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can.
Not when you got Joker 2, not related to this at all, and you got The Batman coming out that is tied nothing at all to this.
Yeah. I think that. You fucked up and you sailed the ship.
Yeah.
So,
and Henry Cavill says he's done, from what I hear. Gail Gadot.
Well, yeah, he's like, I'm busy. I'm fucking Geralt. Fuck you.
Ray Fisher is obviously not around anymore.
Whoo. Can we? Oh wait, yeah. Before we go, can we talk about how basically like Cyborg is such a much better character? I mean, they're all better characters in this movie. But I would say that Cyborg far and away, like, gets the better treatment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because in the original, they just like, oh, hey, there's this like dude that's a robot, and they show up and then he's on the team. Like this, you see where he came from. A lot of people are saying that he was like extremely pivotal to this movie. And I think when people were saying that, I thought he was going to be more of the linchpin. He kind of is, but not.
I wouldn't say he's like the critical linchpin, but he's definitely way more valuable than he was in the theatrical.
Agreed.
The two characters I feel that were vastly far and away different were Cyborg, because obviously he had a lot more going on and you understood his character a lot more, obviously. But the other one, and this one kind of pissed me off a little bit, was Barry, was the Flash, because in the theatrical version, he comes off as this very like fidgety, unsure, like, oh, I don't know, everything scares me, I don't know what to do. Like, he comes off as this like frightened little mouse in the theatrical version.
Yeah.
But in the Snyder cut, I mean, he has moments where he's like, God damn, like this shit's fucking crazy. But he's still like at one point, like he saves the fucking day.
Oh yeah, Well, and you saw that he is actually doing stuff to save people because there's a scene they used in both, or at least they kind of used it in the theatrical where he's talking about like it was more of like I've never been up against this, I've never done this, I can't do this. Like you said, scared mouse. And in this one, it was more of like, hey, like we're talking about like this world killer type of thing, and we're talking about going up against this. That I'm sure other things have gone up against it, and Batman saying, yeah, but it's never gone up against us united. Like it has a completely different meaning. It's more of like I'm just throwing this out there. Like there's this thing. And also like, he's the one that talks about like Superman coming back. We didn't really talk about that. Like it makes sense in this movie now, how he comes back. Where in the original, I felt like it was just like, we're digging him up, Superman back. Like, but why? And then also, I just remember this part. So they did a great job of foreshadowing because in the part where you bring back Superman, you see Barry Allen, Flash, reverse time because he didn't get there in time with that, but he reversed it in his speed. And so he realizes this in this battle as they're losing. He's like, wait a minute, I can make my future. I can make my past. And all that leads up to a fucking Flashpoint movie.
Yep. Exactly. And I earlier where I was talking about like how he's much more of a scared mouse, there are scenes where there are scenes between the two different films where I feel like where Zack uses different takes of Ezra Miller, where he even Ezra himself in his performance is much more confident, much more like sure of himself, and he's not the scared little mouse. He's the fucking fastest man alive. He runs so fast he makes time go backwards. What the fuck?
And even too, like, I keep thinking about like how Superman was used in this movie. He was like sprinkled in like a fine spice instead of like just doused on top. Because in the theatrical release, I felt like, oh, Superman's here. Oh, he's fighting him, but now he's good. Like it was so discombobulated that like by the time like they get to the big battle, you're like, wait, why is he fighting with these guys? Like, isn't he pissed with them?
Yeah, and then he just shows up. But no, but see now you have Clark. First he goes to Smallville and he's hanging out on the farm, and then he's talking to Lois, and Lois is like, I know you gotta go, and Clark is like, well, I gotta at least find out why they did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gives context to all
and then
it.
He goes, oh my God, Sean. Oh my God. I didn't even talk about this. Okay. When he goes back to his Fortress of Solitude and he's walking down the hall in that ship and all the different suits come out and he's hearing like they're monologuing Mr. Kent and they're monologuing Jor-El.
Yeah.
And they're like back and forthing and you're just like, oh my God, this is fucking pulling my heartstrings. Like, I'm not a big Superman guy. Like, I'm not huge into Superman, but like I'm watching this and I'm like, this dude is fucking amazing. I love this man so much. He's walking down the hall and he's got his dad's telling him he's the fucking hope of the universe. And his other dad's like, you do whatever you want, but I know you're a good person.
Just don't save me if there's a tornado, you son of a bitch.
But like, that was really fucking touching.
Yeah. It was definitely well done. And you kind of like that because it kind of shows like, he's got two dads, right? One that saved his life that he's never known, and then an adopted father that raised him. And they both love and care for him the same.
It's kind of speaking to like the two halves of himself. There's there's part of him that's, an alien from outer space that, is supposed to be the savior of humanity. But then there's the other half of him that's like just a dude.
Yeah.
That, wants to like marry a fucking girl and have kids and fucking, like there's part of him that doesn't want to be Superman. But then there's, obviously part of him that's like, no, like I have to be Superman.
Yeah.
Because no one else can be.
Yeah. It's the was it something about like I've heard about leadership, like people who want leadership don't deserve it, and those who don't want it are usually the ones who will be good at it. Something like that.
Yeah.
So like somebody who wants superpowers like Superman probably want it for the wrong reasons, whereas Superman probably doesn't really want it. And now that he has it, he's burdened to use it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I'm definitely probably going to do another watch through of it. I did watch the epilogue future scene again before we got on, and again, I still really liked it. I want to see a Batman versus Joker, Ben Affleck, Leto-esque Batman movie.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
But we're getting Sparkles Pants Vampire, so hopefully that's good and doesn't make me mad. But
let's hope.
But Richard, it's a 4-hour journey. It took us 4 years to get it, and we could have been in a better spot, but we still got it. Still got to see what could have been. What do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts?
I guess I'm going to pose a question to you. Like, at this point, are you glad? Are you glad that you saw this? Or, does it make you mad? Like, are you happy that you saw this? Or are you going like, why didn't I see this?
I think I wouldn't say I'm mad that I saw it because it's kind of like what could have been. But I hope that Warner Brothers and DC listen to like what the reaction of this is.
Yes.
And try to find their Feige. If that's Snyder, it's Snyder, but maybe it's somebody else.
I mean, I don't know if it's Snyder.
I don't think it is, but
like, I mean, the one thing you can say about is like Zack Snyder like can execute a fucking story. Like he can tell a story. Like he can, he is a theatrical director. Like he can shoot.
He's got a good vision.
He can shoot the fuck out. Yeah, he can shoot the fuck out of a movie. I think that, I mean, not every Zack Snyder film's great, but I think that the difference is that Zack Snyder can shoot a movie like nobody's business. Like he can tell a story visually fantastically. The times where he falters is when he doesn't really have much of anything to say.
Yeah, but you know what? I bet if you rewatched Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then this, like you can see that there's the building blocks for something. And they didn't really give him the opportunity to tell his whole story.
I completely agree. I think that this movie, if you're looking at this movie, if you say Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, then this, I would say that this makes Batman v Superman a better movie. This makes Aquaman a better movie because it fleshes out Arthur Curry as a character. It shows you exactly where he is in his head and why he acts the way he acts in that movie, in Justice League, and even in Aquaman. I mean, I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad it exists, but there is a part of me that that almost like wishes that I didn't.
Just
because then
kept it in your mind that was like, well, it must have been worse than the Joss Whedon cut.
Exactly. Like, oh, it must have been worse.
It's kind of like
it must have been.
It's like where people are now asking for the solo cut and the Suicide Squad cut. So like if you saw the solo cut that's out there and you're like, fuck.
Oh my God. If I see that other solo movie and it's actually like really, really good. Cause I was okay with the solo movie.
It was okay.
It wasn't terrible. I was actually kind of happy with it. I kind of wish that I would love to see like Lando as a character do more, you know, but what could have been.
Well, at least we got it. And
That's
maybe
true.
it's just going to lead us to more, or maybe we'll be sitting on our deathbeds thinking what could have been. But until then, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, @languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And we love to always thank our two patrons, Wendy and Aaron.
You guys will always be in our cut.
Yeah, they're always invited to the Hall of Bromance. All right.
That's right. That's right. There's a whole fucking Hall of Justice in that.
Yeah, there is.
So much.
Yeah.
There's so much.
We need 6 chairs with room for more.
Oh, with room for more.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else, Richard, before I close her out?
No, I'm okay.
All right. Well, that's all the Bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Be a why not.
Not.
You think Martha could have saved it? Martha!
Which one? I thought they had the... Oh, no, one of them's dead.
Oh.
I know they're dead because I watched them die like 6 times.